I have one. Huh? I have one.
Okay, good morning, welcome. We're on, what is this? Yud Beis and Yud Beis on the bottom. Cases of Davar Ovid, the Mishnah before said if there's a loss, so then financial loss, so you're allowed to do Malach and Chol HaMoed. That was the main idea, different examples we had. And now goes another Mishnah also with the same idea of Davar Ovid. So the Mishnah says, so two examples of Davar Ovid. A person is, first of all, you see the Isser also, not only Malacha, these things, the first thing might not be Malacha. Or maybe second thing also, under the category of Mamish 39 Malachos, I don't know if this is it. It says a person is allowed to bring in his produce. He has things outside, then he's scared that it's going to be stolen. So it sounds like, if not for the heter, that it might be stolen, so he wouldn't be allowed to. There's some kind of tircha over here, even though it's not actual malacha, but it's also asa for tircha. But the heter is because it might be stolen, so therefore you're allowed to bring it in. Another case, Shola Pashtana B'Pnei Misha, that we had before, that go about the oval over there, but here's talking about Chol HaMoed. Pishtan, a flax has to be soaked. That's part of the process of. That's how to process it. It has a few stages, and one of them is to soak it. Tori, daik, nafetz. So if you leave it there too long, so it gets spoiled. So he wants to take it out. It seems also that we wouldn't allow him to take it out only because there's a davar of it. If he's going to leave it there, it's going to get spoiled. Also, I don't know if it's actual mamash malacha. I don't know if that's what we consider malacha on Shabbos, but we wouldn't allow him to do it because of tircha probably. But b'shvil shalato, but to know that it shouldn't get ruined, so we allow him. So this is another two cases of a davar of it. We don't allow a person to be very busy on Chol HaMoed, but in case there's going to be a financial loss, then we do allow him.
What Mishre means? Mishre?
Mishra is the place where you soak pishtan. Listen of shola.
Shula is up.
Shola is to take out. Take out of water is usually called shola. Shola dog benayam. To take something out of the water is called shola. Kimin amayim mishisiu. Shachli nida. Uvavachli is kavan adam es malachto b'moed. This is a new halacha that we didn't have before. We did have the concept that he shouldn't be mechavim. We spoke about fixing the door and the lock, all those things. They said over there also don't plan it out that you should have to do it. You should do it on moed because you had time to do it before, but you didn't in order to have time. So that you're not allowed to do it. But here it says that halacha again, but it's a little bit more elaborate. And it says, first of all, it says this halacha eventually it's coming after moed that don't plan out your malacha to be due on the chol moed. And if you did, here it says even more. Here it says v'kulan and kivnu malachtam b'moed yovedu. That if you did. So then we tell him on Chol HaMoed, then he comes Chol HaMoed, there was an emergency. He said, what emergency? You could have done it before. So then we tell him you're not allowed to do it, even though now it's going to be Daka Davar Aved, but it's your own fault. You shouldn't have planned it out to come on Chol HaMoed. And if you did, so then we don't allow you to do it. I would have learned the mission like that it just says we don't allow him to do the Malach and Chol HaMoed. But the Mefarshim learn out more, Rashi says over here, and that's how we paskin, that even if he did, he left it for the moed.
It's kind of a punishment.
Yes, but the knas is not only we don't let him do it, it's a knas, but even though it's davar of it, you don't let him do it because he could have done it before. But if he did, and he didn't look on the chol moed, we destroy it. We don't let him use it, and we mafkir it. The Shulchan Aruch says anybody can take it. If somebody was mechav malachta b'moed, and then he did the malach on the moed, so we say anybody can take it. Because
the Mishnah says Yovedu, so you learn that extra.
Right. I would have thought that it just means Yovedu means that we don't let him do the Malach and Chol HaMoed, and it's going to get lost of itself. It's going to get lost by itself. It's going to be Kamalun. Like an oven will come or Bishvil HaMishra, Bishvil Shalotoba, because it gets spoiled. So
I thought that maybe it meant that even if he did it against the halacha and he went ahead and did it anyway, he's not going to gain anything from it. That in the end he'll lose. But that's more of a drush. That it doesn't mean that. You're saying.
That it just means that you're not allowed to do malacha on Chol HaMoed, even if now it's davar aved, too bad because you should have done it.
He will accrue a loss, and that's why you're saying they'll even make it hefker. If they find out that happened, then anybody can take it, and he will accrue a loss.
Right. Right, and that's how the poskim say. Even though I wouldn't have thought that that's the pshat, but they do say so. I didn't look into it more than that, but I just saw that Rashi over here says it. The Mefarish on the side says also Hanas man. Rashi says, and the poskim would go like that. That if he did do malach on Chol HaMoed and he wasn't allowed to, so then the mafkir it. The Gemara continues. Another condition: Tana uvavat she'achnisem etzina l'sof beisa. Let's take away this first halacha now. Now we don't need this one. And this one second. And back to this new halacha. Uvad she'achnisein v'tzena l'sol beis. So that we another condition. It seems to Robin, at least over here, some say maybe not hold up Robin, but he has to do it. He has to do it privately. He shouldn't make a lot of noise when he does do these things that bring in the parasol. So he should do it in a way that's quiet, shouldn't make noise. Rav Yosef had beams. I didn't bring it in. But if he would have left outside, it would have gotten stolen. So he brought it in, but he did it in the daytime, and that's pretty for Hesia. So Abaye asked him, but time the Bashachnis in Betzinu, so says in the Mishnah Brisa, you have to do it quietly, and you're doing it at the time. It would have been better to do it at the nighttime. Amalei, if Yosef told Abaye, it's in the Dahani Yamamahaba. The way to do it privately, secretly, quietly, by these beams is to do it after in the daytime. The daytime is quieter than the nighttime. Since you need a lot of people, and also you have to make torches, that makes it more public. So sometimes, usually, you say that the night is quieter than the day. Nobody sees. But these things, like you need a big balagan to bring it in. So on the contrary, the night is going to be more of a balagan than the daytime. So you do as much as you can. You do it as private as you can, and if you can't do it privately, Rashi says that also, then you don't have to do it privately. We'll try to do it with Sinah. The Mishnah continues, which is not our point. The Gemara is going on, the Bryce is going on, the etc. It says in the Mishnah that he's not supposed to be mechav malachta b'moed, and if he did, so Yovedu. Then if he did, we don't allow him to do it on the Chol Moed, then he's going to lose. We don't allow him Dover Aved if he could have avoided it. Since he planned it, that it should come out of Chol Moed, so we don't allow him to do that work. And the Gemara Zakasha, this is going to be the subject now. The whole subject of the Gemara is going to be this question about Mahu Sheyik Nesu Beno Achrav. Abominei of Yemiyah Me Rabbi Zera. Chiva Malachta B'Moed. Umes, the father, he did wrong. He planned out that his work should come out of Chol Moed, and it's going to become a Dover Aved. Then he thought they were not going to permit it, so he planned it out. So the Mishnah would have said to the father that you're not allowed to do it. And if you did it now, it's Chol Moed. You come to running to the Rav, have a Dover Aved. We say too bad. He shouldn't have planned it out. So, but now he died, and the question is, the son is coming. Someone wants to know: is he allowed to do it? What?
Who died?
The father who had planned out his work. He was shola pishtan. He made the pishtan. He started processing it in a way that it's going to be a davar, but if he leaves it there on Chol Moed, and the halacha would have been that since he planned it out, so then he's not allowed to do it Chol Moed, but he died. And now the son comes to the Rav.
I thought that he went ahead and he took it out on Chol Moed before he died.
So I think it's not necessary. I'm trying to learn the simple pshat. It's true. It's true based on the poskim that say that it's true if he did it. But even if not, the simple reading of the Gemara would go that he didn't do anything. He just planned it out. And he made now it's the davar aved. But you're right that if he would have also done the malacha and now he has this pishtan that's already been processed and taken out of the. So do you make the knas that the son's not allowed to use it? But I'm just learning simple. So that's what the word seems to say. So the question is that the knas they made in the father that he's not allowed to do the malacha on Chol Moed because he was mechav malachta b'moed. If he died, is the knas also on the son?
It reads like Ma'u shik nesu banav achra.
Right. And what's the question? And the Gemara is going to bring other cases where you have such a similar scenario that there's a knas on the father. Does it apply to the son? He didn't do anything wrong. And the Gemara is going to bring a couple of cases where they did make a knas on the father, on the son. I'm sorry. And the question is going to be, could we learn out from there to here also? So it starts.
I'm sorry, Rebbe.
Yes, please.
I'm having a problem here. Let's say a person, you talked about a person wanted to bring, okay, let's talk about he lifted up the flax. Let's say he decided, I'm going to lift up the flax on Chol Moed. And then, he was talking to somebody in Shul about, on Yom Tov and said, oh, yeah, I've got Chol Moed's coming up and that's when I'm going to take my flax out. And they said, you can't do that. Are you telling me now the fact that he can't do it, if he leaves it, he's still going to lose it? That doesn't make sense. If he doesn't do anything, I see. If he leaves it, it'll disintegrate.
That's the whole letter. That's why he said I'm allowed to do it because of davar of it. Because if I leave it, don't take it out. It's going to get ruined. So we say yes, you must leave it, and it must get ruined by itself.
Oh, you must leave it, and it must get ruined. I see. Okay, thank you.
That the poskim say more, like you mentioned before. That the poskim say more. That if he didn't listen and he did take it out, then the person comes to send the police force and
he'll still lose it. Yeah.
Take it away from him.
So now we're asking about the Yorshim, right? The Yorshim will.
Right. And we'll say it's simple that he planned it out, and now it's sitting in Chol Moed, and the son he wants to take it out in order to save it.
He wants to take it out because for him it's a real davar
And he didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
The
And
father
he
did-
didn't, yeah, he didn't plan it out to do it. It's
Yeah,
his
the
father.
father-
Right. And you can also talk about, you said that if the father did take it out and it becomes usher to use, is it usher for the son to use? But I'm just saying simpler. So the Gemara says, Imtim Saloma, next page. Soram Ozen Bechor. Concept of So the Gemara is bringing other cases, like what we call that, like a case history. The other cases where we talk about this concept and see if it applies over here. There's a law, you're not allowed to make a mum in a bechor. If you have a firstborn animal, it's a korban, and if it becomes a mum, so then the kohen is allowed to use it as chulin. It's a psula mikdashim. It once was kodesh, but if it gets a mum, what do we see here? Okay. There's a sheep over here. That's a bechor. If you look at it closely, it's a bechor, and you see that there's a cut ear. There's something cut in the ear. That's a mum. This is a mum. So the question is, why did they make him? I'm not sure why they made him opening by the door. That sounds like making meiser over here, but it's not doing meiser. Some other bechor. Good, Yeshikar, thank you.
No, they have to pull it through the
We're not talking about meiser. We're talking about bechor. We're not talking about meiser. Bechor is the firstborn. Nothing to do. That's why they got mixed up. Maybe talking about the red. So here the halach is that the kohen, if he got a moon by itself, so then he's allowed to eat it. Not like a korban. But if it doesn't have a moon, and nowadays it's not based on mikdash, so he has to just wait. So there's a certain negios. How would you say that in English? That he'd like that should have a moon. A kohen would like to. He has the lean. He has
towards.
he'd like very much that she get a mum. And if he's also to make a mum. You're not allowed to make a mum. What if he did? He made a mum with animal. So we tell him a knas that you're not allowed. As far as you're concerned, there's no mum. He says there's a mum. There is a mum, but who made the mum? He made the mum. So they made a knas that he's not allowed to benefit from that mum, and he's not allowed to eat it as a bal mum. But now he died. So the question is, could the son didn't do anything wrong? Could he use the animal as a bechor bal mum? Could he eat it as food? And over there it says maybe yes. It's a question, but he says even if so, some wasn't b'no. But Torah means this mum, this cutting off the ear. Some wasn't b'chor. Even if you're going to say that over there they did make a knas on the son, so you might learn from there that they did make a knas on the father, applies to the son also, even though they didn't do anything wrong. No, over there it's worse. Mishum disur deraisa. He transgressed this deraisa by making a woman a b'chor. That's why the big knas, even on the son. But maybe here it's not. Here it's not issue the rice. In fact, he didn't do anything over here. He just, I would say, the cholamoy doing malach on cholamoy is not the rice. And even if it is, but he didn't do anything. He just planned it out that it should come out of cholamoy. And now it's a double ovid. Now it's really mutter. Another case where you find a knas on the father and it applies to the son also. Mochar abdol legoy umeis. The loch is not allowed to sell a kanani to a goy. Someone owns a kanani. He's not allowed. He can sell him to a Jew. He can't sell him to a goy, because the guy is not going to let him to do mitzvahs anymore. So here the halach is if somebody sold Eved Kanani to a guy, so the seller is obligated to redeem him from the guy. Since he put the Eved Kanani in a situation where he belongs to a guy, so we tell the seller, you did a big avera and you have to redeem him.
Who makes?
And now he died. The seller died. Do we say to the son that he has to redeem? Of course, it's probably going to mean from the money of the Yerusha. Does he have to redeem the Eved Kanani? So maybe yes. Over there also maybe yes. But even over there, yes. Maybe over here not. Maybe our halacha is different. That the Knas understand he has to redeem the Eved Kanani. Mishum dechol yom of mafkalei mitzvahs. Over there, it's very serious that the Eved Kanani, as long as he's by the goy, he can't do mitzvahs. So we have to save the Eved Kanani to get him out of that situation. But over here, that you don't have any of these reasons, you didn't do it deraisa. There's no question about something being in a very bad situation. The question is that he planned out he orchestrated that it should come out the davar ovid on Chol HaMoed, and we made a knas that you're not allowed to do that work because you shouldn't have done it. Did they make a knas on the man, or did they make a knas on the item? Well, let's say don't make a knas on the man, and he's not here. He died already. The son has no knas. He can do anything wrong. But they made a knas on the item that is not allowed to be used and not allowed to be saved. And then even if the father's not here, but the object is still here, and the son is not allowed to do work to save that davar ovid. So that's the question. We have two cases where you see that did make a knas on the father, it applies to the son also, but we still have a question. By our case, maybe it doesn't apply to the son. Amalei to Nisua. He said to him, who said to who? I forgot who's talking already. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked Rabbi Zera. Okay, so Rabbi Zera has a proof. Amalei.
I'm sorry, the word Isay means what?
It is here. Yes, no. It is here. Amalei, so Abzeri said to Rabbi Yotanisua, there's a rabbi right from a Mishnah. It says, Sadashin Eskavsa B'Shvias, Tizol L'Mosoi Shvias, the Taiva on the Dara, Loshis Ol L'Mosoi Shvias. Here's a case where a person did Malach on Shemitah, during Shemitah year, he somehow improved his land, and he wasn't allowed to. And the question is he allowed to benefit from that land the year after Shemitah? So it says a difference. Shen Eskavsa, if we took out the kotzim, cleaned out the thorns from the field, he shouldn't have. But if he did, it's not so terrible, and it's allowed to be used on the year after Shemitah. He could plant it on the year after Shemitah. But in Taiva and the Daira, if he fertilized it, the Taiva means that he improved it by fertilizing it. The Daira is also fertilizing. We had yesterday that it means that you don't take the fertilizer, you take the sheep, and you put the sheep into the field, and they stay there a couple of days, and they naturally are going to fertilize the land. But anyway, it says if you did that, you made a big improvement in fertilizing it, then you're not allowed, made a knas, and you're not allowed to plant the field on Mosai Shvias. So what do you see? A knas. He did Issa, we'll say the rice of Rabbanan. We'll say it's Rabbanan. We said before in the beginning of the Masechta that Shvius Bizmana says Rabbanan, and even if it's the Raisa, but only Zoreya, Zomer, Kotzer, Botzer, and maybe the Abbas Malachas, but not the told us over here. So it's only going to be a Rabbanan. So here it says, we hold Chativa, Hitiva, Umeis, Beno Zola, that if somebody did the Malacha, he did this, he fertilized his field on Shemitah and he died. The son, who now inherits the field, he is allowed to use a Matzah Shemitah because even though the father is a class on the father, it's only on the father, it's not on the son. So we found a riot on our question. Over there we see that will lay a class on him, not on the son. So that's halacha, that if the father did wrong and he orchestrated his malacha to come out of moed with a dover of it, so if he's living, he's not allowed to take care of it. But if the son's living, we tell him you may do it because it's for you, it's dover of it, you didn't do anything wrong. And the Gemara makes one more application. Another thing we hold that if somebody was metamei, somebody else's taras, somebody had something tuma tahora, and somebody came and took a sheres, whatever, or he himself was tamei, he touched it, he made it tamei, so he damaged him. He made it now tuma tameya or kachim tameya, so he damaged him. So he has to pay for it. But if he died, only he has to pay for it. If he died, the son doesn't have to pay for it. It means again, even from the money of the Yerusha, there's no knas on the son. Why is that? If the father would have been mazik and he died, the son does have to pay for the damages that the father did. But here's different. My time, hezek sheninekalosh my hezek. They consider abanan, the brother consider abanan. It's only knas. It means the fact that he has to pay for it is not because he really damaged him. Because Allah to behold that it's called hezek shenineka. Hezek shenineka means that it's not an obvious damage because it's just spiritual. It's true. It made it devalued, but you don't see anything. You don't see that you don't see the devalue. It looks like regular just because it's a spiritual thing that it became tamei. So minadin Allah is that he doesn't have to pay. That's not really considered a damage, and the father wouldn't have to pay. But they made a knas, but he has to pay. So that knas only applies to the one who did it, but the son doesn't have to. So it comes down to the Gemara. We have two cases. We have altogether how many cases? We have 5 cases that the Gemara put down. 2 of the cases they did make a knas on the son, and that's the case of if the father maybe it says imtim saloma. It's not saying for sure, but maybe that's Allah. Seems to be the halacha that if the father made a mum in the bechor, the son also is not allowed to benefit from that mum. And another case, if the father sold every knani to a goy, the son would have to redeem him from the hands of the goy. And over there, it's because it's serious in the rest of the raisa, or because he's making the eved not chayv and mitzvahs. But then we have our case. We have 2 cases where there's no. That's the case of Shemitah, that if the father fertilized the field, there's a knas on him not to use it the next year. But on the son, there is no such knas. And also, the Gemara talks about Timei Tarosa, that somebody did hezek shenin nikar, he has a knas to pay, but the son does not. And the Gemara is comparing on Gemara the case of the Chavim Malach the Moed. He orchestrated the Malacha should come on a Chol Moed for Davar Oved. The knas does not apply to the son.
So we say about a mum, but making a living thing in the air, we don't consider it a hezek to say nipper?
No, it is nikar. You see the moon, you see it. There, by the tumah, you don't see anything. This is called hezek nikar. If you see a mum in the air, it is considered a mum. But mum doesn't have to do with hezek. Mum has to do with making it that it should be a whole different case. That it should be kosher to eat. That it shouldn't be a korban. So it's not a subject over there about a hezek. But you're just saying what will be the din. That is called hezek. You have to pay how much is the value because of that. Yes.
That's what's in to me. What fertilizes is what?
The taiva. The taiva literally means he improved it, but it means he improved it by fertilizing it. And then Rashi says he actually bought a bag of fertilizer. And the daira means that he brought in animals to stay there for a couple of days until they naturally fertilize it.
And in the Kavutza,
His kapsa was taken coats. They took out the thorns out of the field. Next Mishnah. Ein lokin batim avadim ubehema. Elos orchamoid. You're not allowed to buy a house in Cholamoid. You're not allowed to buy a slave in Cholamoid. You're not allowed to buy an animal in Cholamoid. Only if you need it for the moed. If you need a house for the moed, you're allowed to buy a house. If you need a house for, of course, you'll have the house afterwards also. But you're allowed to buy it if you need it for Cholamoid.
but buying from a goy, you surely can.
Nothing to do with the guy. Here it's not a subject. Not a subject. Here it talks about Shabbos. Here it's talking about on the moed you're buying from a Jew, and so you're not allowed to buy a house or a slave or an animal. Big things. It looks like only a tzarech moed. All the tzarech moed she'ein lo mayochel. Here's a new het. Here's a new het there that the Gemara is going to talk about. That really you don't need it. You can buy it after the moed. You have no problem. You don't need it for you don't need it for yontif. But the seller needs money. He doesn't have money. The poskim say it doesn't have what to eat. He doesn't have what to eat enough for yontif. He needs money. So you're allowed to buy it for the benefit. You don't need it. You don't need it. But the money, the seller needs money. So you're allowed to buy it in order that he should have money. A new heter. And the rest of the Gemara now is going to talk about how about a poel shein lo mayochel. Here we're talking about the whole issue is about buying and selling. So it's not as big an issue as doing malacha, it seems. So even though the Mishnah says that the issue of buying and selling is waived in order to give the mocher money, the Gemara is going to talk about how about a poel. How about the paying a salary for a worker that he doesn't have money? Is that also you're allowed to give him to do work? We have all kinds of things that Cholamoid you're not allowed to do, and really you have no reason to do it. It's not a tzarech moed, it's not a dover ovid, no problem. But you know that there's a worker that he needs money. Are you allowed to give him work to do in order that he should be able to get money? A new heter. We learned it probably Hilchos Cholamoid. But here's the Gemara, and there's no Mishnah. The Mishnah talks about a mocher shein lo mayochel that you're allowed to sell. You're allowed to buy in order that he should be able to sell. But Pula, to do an act, to do a malacha, that I don't know if my example is good, but I'll try. That you have a house that has to be painted, and you don't need it. You don't need it for Cholamoid. But you know that the painter, he's a poor guy, and he needs money, and he's this way a lot of money for Cholamoid, for Yontif. So are you allowed to give him work to do a Cholamoid? What?
It's over Galut.
I don't know. See, I don't know. That's not, I made my example. Can't say another example, whatever it is. So are you allowed to do malacha for a poel shein lo mayochel? Amalei Tanina. He has a Mishnah. He thinks our Mishnah says so. Our Mishnah. But the Gemara knows that the difference between mocher and a poel, but the Gemara thinks it's some kind of a riboy. It's too long. The words on Mishnah, the Mishnah are too long. It isn't so clear what's so long about it, but Rashi says a pshat that it could have said it shorter. So the fact that it didn't have to say it, we could have learned it out in other words in the Mishnah. So Lasuyim, it wasn't coming to add on. Isn't it coming to add on even not only a mocher, even a poel? Lav Lasuyim, Schar Pula, isn't it coming to say that even a poel shein lo mayochel is allowed to work in Cholamoid? We're allowed to give him work in order that the worker should get money. So he said, no, it's not a right from the Mishnah. It's not a right. It could be the Mishnah just explaining that when I say that it's motiv l'sarach hamoed and the schar pula, schar malacha, schar mocher, shein lo mayochel, it doesn't say that it's talking about even about a poel. There's no extra words, so we don't know yet. So we do know what the Mishnah says that a mocher shein lo mayochel, you're allowed to do the act, the transaction in order to give him money, but we still don't know the halacha pula. So the Gemara goes on to find the proof. Esvei, Abaye, ein kos mishtarech chol b'moed, b'menu amino, or shein lo mayochel abezo yechov. It says that you're not allowed to write a contract in Cholamoid. So let's say you want to lend money, but don't write a contract. Lend the money and don't write the contract. But if you don't trust him, and if you don't write the contract, you're supposed to write a contract, and it could be for a long term, they're going to forget. But here he says, I'll wait till after Cholamoid, only 2 days, no one's going to forget about it in 2 days. Write the contract in 2 days. But he doesn't trust him. He thinks if he's going to come back to Cholamoid, he's not going to want to write the contract anymore. So then you're allowed to write it because you want to lend him the money, and it's going to be a dover obey. So you're allowed to write the contract. Oh, shein lo mayochel. Oh, he doesn't have what to eat. Who doesn't have what to eat? Then you're allowed to write the contract. Who doesn't have what to eat?
Obviously, the borrower.
He's allowed to borrow money even if he has what to eat. The Mishnah is very hard. Mishnah. It says that you're allowed to write the contract. You don't write a contract, but if you don't trust him or he doesn't have what to eat, then you can. You're allowed to lend money even if he has what to eat. That's not a problem. And then, now, I want to lend the money and I don't trust him. So I'm allowed to write a contract. So what does it mean? Who doesn't have what to eat? The borrower doesn't have what to eat. So what's the problem? If he has what to eat, do you trust him or you don't trust him? If you don't trust him, so then you're allowed to write the contract even if he has what to eat. Whatever, he has what to eat. He wants to go on a trip, whatever. So he doesn't have money. But I don't trust him. So I'm allowed to write the contract. So what is the added on by saying he doesn't have what to eat? If you trust him, say you trust him. If you don't trust him. It must mean that the sofer doesn't have doesn't have money. It means I'm ready. I'm willing to lend money. I'm willing to lend money without a contract. But around the corner, there's a sofa that doesn't have any money. And we're going to write a contract anyway. Money now. So let's write the contract now in order to be able to get money to the sofa. I was coming to say that the case is that the sofa doesn't have money. So you're allowed to make the contract on moed just because the sofa should get money.
Oh, that is so far away. I mean, if you want to write a mezuzah, okay, the mice said, but to do a whole business deal so that the sofa can have some money, that's crazy stuff.
What do you mean? He's lending the money anyway. He's lending the money.
He's lending the money,
and he doesn't need a contract. He can wait for the contract. I can't wait till after Yom Tov to write the contract.
But he doesn't trust him.
But lend the money.
No, he doesn't trust him.
No, he does trust him.
Now he's saying.
You see what it says? So if he say does trust him, but the sofa doesn't have any money. The sofa needs money now. Next week's not going to help me. He needs money for Yom Tov. So
in other words, like halachically, he doesn't need a contract, but because the sofa who is going to write it out, he doesn't need money. So yeah, write a contract.
Right.
I need a contract.
Right. Right. I think that he needs a contract after Yom Tov anyway. He's not going to make the.
Yeah, no,
but for 2 days now. I can wait. Then I will write a contract next week. But for the sofa, you're allowed to do it. So you see that you're allowed to do it. That's what's going to do Gemara. That's not foolish. And the Mayochel is also mutter. The Gemara doesn't see it in our Mishnah, but in that Mishnah about writing, so Schar Pol Shein Mayochel is also mutter. The Gemara is going to have kashas and tirutzim, but it comes out that this is the halacha. Shmam, you know that Schar Pol is also mutter. The Gemara is the kasha. Moshe Rav Sheshes. It says in the Mishnah, Mishnah Pesachim. V'chacham mom mimshal shum liyosos malacha bar Pesachim ad chatzos hachayoten v'asaporim v'akofsin. It says over there, Ayilan the malacha. First one on the line is Sheshes. V'chacham mom mimshal shum liyosos malacha bar Pesachim ad chatzos. Then you're not allowed to malach on Pesach after midday. Till midday, it depends on the maniga makom. Makom shenag ulasis malacha ad chatzos, makom shenag ulasis einosin. But it says that even in a place where the custom is not to do malacha in the morning, but three craftsmen, whatever the word is, only those three people are allowed to. Who are they? Tailors and barbers and launderers. They're allowed to do malacha on their Pesach until chatzos. And it says the reason is because you do these three things have a heter in some cases to do malacha on Chol HaMoed. Here we're talking about Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach is not as Chol HaMoed. There's a malacha on Erev Pesach.
Because your whole day is supposed to be Yom Tov. I think it's more chomer than the other Shalosh Rabbanim.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
It doesn't say you have to be, you stop work the whole day from the beginning of it.
We just said that from Chatzos is also minadin until Chatzos is tali minag hamokom. Now it says that these three people are allowed to do malacha even in a place which is makom shnagu not to do malacha in the morning. Right. Now I just said that on the halachas of Erev Pesach, this halacha to not do malacha is not as chomer as doing malacha on Chol HaMoed. And Chol HaMoed is more serious. This of Chol HaMoed to do malacha is more serious than the Issa of Malacha of Erev Pesach. Now it says that we're going to permit on Erev Pesach, we're going to permit any malacha which sometimes has a heter on Chol HaMoed. If it has a heter on Chol HaMoed, if it ever was mutar Chol HaMoed, it's surely mutar on Arvasa on the 14th. But even if it's not the same case, but it has some case, some way, some cases, some situation where a certain malacha would be mutar on Chol HaMoed, then it's mutar on Erev Pesach, even without that special situation. And it says, Hachayotin, a tailor is allowed to do malacha on Erev Pesach until Chatzos. Why? Because it has some way that it's mutar and Chol HaMoed. What's the case? That a ma'aser hedyot, not a tailor. He's a tailor. Tailor's a umna. He's not allowed to do malacha on there. He can't do it. It has to do it machlok. He has to do it in an amateur way. But since there's some way to sew on Chol HaMoed, so we have a heter to do it on Yudal even more than that. We could even do it a professional. Another case, a porn v'kofsin, the barber and the launderer, they're allowed to do malacha on Erev Pesach before Chatzos because you find some heter on Chol HaMoed. What's the heter? Shekein abon m'mdina sayam. That even though a regular person is not allowed to take a haircut or wash the laundry on Chol HaMoed, but a person who came out of jail, who came out from overseas, and he didn't have an opportunity to be able to take a haircut or wash his clothing before Yom Tov, he's allowed to do it on Chol HaMoed. So therefore, we allow the barber and the launderer to do malacha on Erev Pesach, even for a regular person who was able to wash before, because you find some kula on Chol HaMoed, then it's mutar and Yudal. That's the mission over there. Now the Gemara wants to apply it to our case. First wide line. If that's the yisod of Erev Pesach, that whatever has a heter on Chol HaMoed is mutar on Erev Pesach, even without that heter, like all these cases. Whatever is mutter on Chol Hamoed with a heter, like Ma'aser Hediot or Ba Medina Sayam, so then that kind of malacha is mutter on Yudalit on Erev Pesach, even without that special situation. If so, everything should be mutter to do Erev Pesach, because if you say that any malacha, a poel, is allowed to do if he doesn't have what to eat, that's a heter. Poel she'en lo mayochal. You're allowed to do that on Chol Hamoed. So if so, every malacha has a case that you're allowed to do on Chol Hamoed, because if he has no money, Poel she'en lo mayochal is going to be mutter. So if so, then everything should be mutter on Yudalit. That must be a proof. Rav Sheshes is asking, this all Rav Sheshes is kasha, that it must be that you're not allowed to do malacha for a worker who doesn't have what to eat. Because if so, everything should be mutter, every malacha should be mutter on Erev Pesach, because the Mishnah seems to say that that's the rule. Whatever has any kind of heter on Chol Hamoed is mutter on Yudalit, even without that heter. But the Gemara is going to challenge that understanding. Rav Papa over here, and then again, 2 lines later, Ravina, they're going to challenge the understanding of Rav Sheshes. Papa, you think that's found in the Mishnah? You got the Mishnah all wrong. You think the Mishnah means that anything that has any kind of heter on Chol Hamoed is going to be mutter on Yudalit even without any heter. Elamiyata binyan l'shtabish came kosa lagol l'shus rabim sosa bonik kedako b'fnei sakana. Even if you're going to say that Paul she'en lo mayochal is asa, but there are things that are definitely mutter. It says that on Chol Hamoed, if you have a wall which is leaning to Rishus Rabim, it might fall and it's dangerous. So we said before that we don't take down the wall; you can build it up again, because it's dangerous to leave it standing. So if you're going to say that whatever's mutter on Chol Hamoed is mutter on Yudalit even without a heter, so then you should be allowed to build, because sometimes you're allowed to build on Chol Hamoed. And another kasha on the same line, that any malacha that you're allowed to do on Chol Hamoed in some certain situation, you're allowed to do on Yudalit even without the situation. So you should be allowed to write on Erev Pesach, even without any reason, because there is times that you're allowed to write, like the Mishnah later on that says that you're allowed to write a marriage contract, you're allowed to write a divorce contract, you're allowed to write a receipt. There are things that you're allowed to write on Chol Hamoed. And if you understood the Mishnah over there means to say that any kind of malacha which has some heter in some situation, you're allowed to do on Chol Hamoed, so then you're allowed to do that malacha, that type of malacha on Yudalit even without that situation, so then you should be allowed to build, you should be allowed to write. You could ask also, we should allowed to do anything maybe, because Davar Ovid, that's the kasha also, that any Davar Ovid is mutter. So maybe you should say that it's also mutter on Erev Pesach. So you got it wrong. So this is a proof that Rav Sheshes' understanding of the Mishnah of Pesachim is wrong. It doesn't mean anything that's mutter on Chol Hamoed in some situation is mutter. Elam Ravashi Moed Abasa Karamas, you're asking from Chol Hamoed to Yudalit, you got it all wrong. Moed Mishum Techahu V'Mokum Seid Shor Rabbana. Avasa Mishum Sarach Yom Tovu. Midi the Sarach Yom Tov Shor Rabbana. Midi the Rav Sarach Yom Tov Shor Rabbana. The yesod of the heter of Chol Hamoed is different than the heter of Yudalit. That by Chol Hamoed the issue is tircha, and sometimes we permit that. But Abasa is only going to be mutter if it's a Sarach Yom Tov. And it's not just a blanket statement that anything that's mutter on Chol Hamoed in some situation is going to be mutter. The Gemara means that you also have to have, the first thing has to be a Sarach Hamoed. If it's not a Sarach, these saporin, the chayata and saporin, copes, and all these things that people need for the Moed. And that's why they're allowed to do it. But without that, we're not going to permit anything. So even though you'd have something which has to also another condition besides being a Sarach Hamoed, you're doing it on your dollar because you need it for the Moed. So also it has to be something which has to have to on Chol Hamoed also. But if it has no Sarach Hamoed, we're not going to allow it. So this person, we're not going to allow any malacha for no reason at all, because the Paul Shein L'Mayochel is mutter on Chol Hamoed. So therefore, it's not a kasha, and the Gemara remains with the proof before that a Paul Shein L'Mayochel is also mutter. So that's halacha. Just to end off the Gemara, this Gemara is over. That the Mishnah says that a mocha Shein L'Mayochel, you're allowed to make this transaction, you're allowed to buy a house, even though you'll buy it later. After, I don't need it now, I can buy it after the moed. But if the mocher needs money, you're allowed to buy a house, an animal, a slave, because the mocher needs money. And so too, even though there are many malachas that are rasa, all the malacha things that are rasa on Chol Hamoed, but if the worker needs money, you're allowed to let him do it on Chol Hamoed in order to give him money.
If I think we spoke about it with labor 2 days ago or yesterday. If a person gets paid for work on Chol Hamoed for a deed that something that's needed for the Chol Hamoed, but the payment doesn't come till months later. We spoke about that. So what's going to do? I'm not getting paid for Chol Hamoed. How am I going to work?
I'm not sure what the question is. Yesterday we said that you're not allowed to, even though the things that you're allowed to do, but you're not allowed to do it for money. You can't pay for it. You can't pay for it.
So we already said that.
So the question is, how do the musicians? Why are they working?
They wouldn't work without me.
So we said that Mishnah Berurah being done from here is why I think that if you can't get it for free, and of course, who's going to do it for free? So then you could do it for money. That's the.
Now the question is, the money that comes to the musician or whatever,
Yes.
can he take money
Yes.
that he's not getting now? Can he do the job?
Well,
that
they
he's
couldn't
not getting
take money.
paid
That's
for?
partially could take.
Why shouldn't he do the
Why
job?
should he do it now? Because
If he wants to do it for free, it's even better. But if he's going to get money, so he's not
it
getting money.
It doesn't come to him now.
Where do you see that?
It's not worse.
Mitzido, isn't he only allowed to work if he can use the money for?
No, it's even better if he works without money. If he goes to be a musician, not getting money is wonderful. He's doing it so moed for the person to have a nice party,
Yeah,
and he's not getting money. That would be like, wow. But he wants to get money. I don't have time to play by things if I don't get money. So we'll say, okay, so you can take money. But it's not worse.
It's going to come to him 2 months later.
It's not worse that he's not getting money. It's better he's not getting money.
So I'm having a challenge like that from Sukkot. I'm still waiting for money.
Has nothing to do with the whole way. When you do work in the week, they also don't get paid. That's a general problem.
What's the price that he's allowed to take? You're allowed to give. Where it states he's allowed to take.
It must be the same heter because if no one's going to want to do it, so then he's in a problem. So I didn't look into that heter so much.
Okay, fine.
Okay, next Mishnah. You're not allowed to move. You want to move. You're planning to move. So the whole is a nice time. You can move. So it says no, you're not allowed to. It's too much. You're too busy. Even though you're not doing malacha mamish, you can say even if it's within the area, you're not allowed to move from house to house. You can't do hovalah. You can't do la'avor dira. You can't move on cholamol.
If you need, or even if you don't need.
He doesn't. What does it mean? He has a house. What's wrong?
I thought maybe he has some need to have, I don't know, he's got gas that there's not enough room.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't talk about it.
Need.
Doesn't say. But he could move out to his courtyard, which the Gemara doesn't know what it means yet. The Gemara is going to say that means you could move into the place that you're living, into your courtyard. So what's the case that says you can't move? When could you move? When can't you move? We'll see the Gemara in 2 lines. It's going to be very simple. Next part of the Mishnah. You can't bring home things that you gave to the repairman. You have something, whatever it is, a toaster. We'll see. A toaster you need toast for Chol Hamoed. But maybe you have a drill that you gave to the repairman, so you can't bring it home on Chol Hamoed. Why?
I don't understand.
You can't bring home something you gave to the repairman to fix, and he fixed it. You can't pick it up on Chol Hamoed.
But he's going to use it for the yontif.
I'm sorry?
Isn't he going to use it for yontif?
So if you're going to use it for I said a toaster, you're allowed to. The one was going to say soon. Things that you need for Chol Hamoed, you are allowed to. Things that you need for yontif. But things that you don't need, a drill, a case of a drill, you're not using a drill. So then you're not allowed to. If you're scared to leave it over there, we'll see in the Gemara case why you might be scared to leave it over there. Then you're allowed to pick it up, but don't take it home. Leave it someplace else. Take it away from the repairman, but put it someplace else by a good friend. But don't take it home. And we'll see more in the Gemara. So it's too much nice. They put it together, 2 different subjects. One is that you're not allowed to move. One is that you're not allowed to bring home things from the repairman. The Gemara goes back on the beginning. It says you're not allowed to move, but you're all allowed to move. What does that mean? First it says you can't move, then it says you could move. Rabbi, say for us on the Baisha. So the Mishnah means that you're allowed to move within your courtyard. If you're moving to a house into another courtyard, you're not allowed to. You can't move from courtyard to courtyard, but you could move from a house to a house in the same courtyard. That's not so public. It's not so much noise. So you are allowed to move from a house to a house within the same courtyard. And you're not allowed to bring home things from the repairman. Amra Papa. Badiklan Rava, Tanan, Emivin Kevin Besuman, Reminu, Mavichan Mavin Kevin Besuman, Apisha and Sohamoy. The Papa said that Rava tested us. Rava asked us the question. Rava was the Rebbe, Papa was the student, the Talmud. But Papa said that Rava tested us. He says it's a contradiction in Mishnah and moed katan to Mishnah Psachim. Here it says our Mishnah that you're not allowed to bring home things from the repairman. Emivin Kevin Besuman, that's our Mishnah. Reminu, Mishnah Psachim, Molichan and Mavin Kevin Besuman. It says you're all allowed to. You're allowed to bring home. You're allowed to even take. You're allowed to take cable to the repairman, and you're allowed to bring home cable from the repairman, even though you don't need it. So the contradiction here says you're not allowed to bring home cable from the repairman. There says you are allowed to. So the answer is going to be simple, like right away he answered him. If you look at the Mishnah over there, it's not talking about Chol Hamoed. Here's talking about Chol Hamoed. There's talking about the 14th, Erev Pesach. So we said Erev Pesach is not as Chomor as Chol Hamoed. So even the Chol Hamoed, you're not allowed to bring home things, but that halacha doesn't apply to Erev Pesach. So Erev Pesach, you are allowed to bring home cable from the Ummah.
Even though you're not going to use it?
Even though you're not going to use it.
But only until 12 o'clock. Only until noon.
It doesn't say that. Probably even after. This halacha doesn't apply. It's not called Mavacha. So you're allowed to bring it home every Pesach. You're allowed to bring home kelim from the repairman, and you're not allowed to on Chol Hamoed. That's the simple, and that's the simple reading in the Mishnah over there also, and that's the truth, and that's going to be the maskana. But the Gemara tries one more teretz, and the second teretz didn't work. Iboy is saying, well, I mean, the test. Maybe he said he wanted to get two teretzim, but the second teretz was not good. The first teretz is good, and that's true. But the Gemara is going to try another teretz. Iboy is saying, maybe the Mishnah over there means also Chol Hamoed. Also, you could bring home the kelim, because our Mishnah also says that if you trust him, if you don't trust him, then you could take it away from him. If you trust him, then don't take it home. But if you don't trust him, you could take it home. The truth is, our Mishnah says that already. Our Mishnah says in Chol Shishlohen, take it to Chatzah Cheres. But the Gemara is going to bring a brisa that not only Chatzah Cheres, you can even bring it home to yourselves also. Sometimes you could. And that's the brisa that it brings now. Vatanya is benichusa. It doesn't mean a kasha amad beis. It's not a kasha. It is just going to be a proof. Sometimes you are allowed to bring home kelim from the repairman. You go and kadmi beis akador, of course, beis azagor. A pitcher from the pitcher maker, a cup from the cup maker. Because there's tzarech hamoed. You're going to use it on the yantiv. You're going to use the card and the kos. But things that you're not going to use, you can't bring home wool from the dyer, the one who colored it, because you're not going to be weaving on Chol Hamoed, and you can't bring home kelim from the repairman, things that you're not going to use, a drill, whatever it's going to be. So far, same as our Mishnah, that you're not allowed to bring home kelim from the Beis Uman only if you need it. The Mengama Yochal, if the repairman doesn't have what to eat, so you could pay him, also no scholars to pay him, but don't take it home. Pay him for his work, and then pick it up after the yantiv. But now you don't trust him. As long as I didn't pay him, so I'll get it. He's not going to
lose the money.
You're right. So he'll give me back my drill in order to get his money. But I'm going to pay him now. I want to be a big tzaddik and pay him, but I should have money. Now I don't trust I'm going to get back my drill. Then leave it by a house nearby. Means take it out of the repairman and put it by a friend's house nearby. And here it says, if you're scared it's going to be stolen by that friend, then bring it home. What did the Brisa say? It says that even though you're not allowed to bring home things from the repairman, but if there's reason to, like you don't trust him, you want to pay him, but you don't trust him. To give it, that'll be a trustworthy. Right. Place. So then you're allowed to bring it home. So what does the Gemara think? That it's not a contradiction. The Mishnah of Pesachim says you're allowed to bring home kelim. It means in a certain case, if there's a case that you're scared to leave it by the repairman, so then you're allowed to take it home. But the Gemara says that's only a half a teretz. Tiratz the mevian, malichem kasha. That's good as far as mevian. It says in our Mishnah you're not allowed to bring home things, and over there it says you are allowed to bring home. You're allowed to bring home when you're scared that it's going to get lost. But it says over there also molichem. It says, if you look back and just scroll back, it says over there, the kasha was reminu molichin umovian kelim. It doesn't only say mevian, it says even molichin. Molichin means you're allowed to take. Why are you taking it for? Leave it home. You have a drill that's broken, so wait after the moed. Why are you taking it for? And over there it says you are allowed to take it. So that must be only on your dollar. On Chol Hamoed, there's no heter to take it. On the Chol Hamoed, the only heter would be if you're going to lose it. You have it by the repairman and you don't trust it's going to be over there, so then you're allowed to bring it home. But why should you ever take it? So that's only a mutter on your dollar. Diktani ein mevian. Kolchkein shem molichin. And our Mishnah says you're not allowed to bring home. So you're not allowed to take it to the repairman. And over there it says you're even allowed to take it to the repairman. The clear shot, the clarity is the way we first answered that the Mishnah over there is talking about the dollar. Here it's talking about on the Chol Hamoed. On Chol Hamoed is this to bring things to even to bring home things from the repairman only if it's a chash, it's going to get lost. And on Yudalid, on Erev Pesach, there's no such. So you're even allowed to take things to the repairman also. It's not as common as Chol Hamoed. The Mishnah continues. Here it says af ma'avin. That's a leniency. That the Tanakama says that you're allowed to cover katsios. Katsios means dried figs, and you're scared that it's going to get wet, it seems. So you're allowed to cover it with straw. So also we wouldn't want you to do this because it's too much chercha on Chol Hamoed. But if it's going to be davar ovid, so you're allowed to. What do? You cover it with kash. You cover the dried figs with straw in order to protect that it shouldn't get wet. Even allowed to do something else. Ma'avin, even something more. What's that? We don't know yet. We'll see in the Gemara what does it mean. What does it mean? Ma'avin means to cover. Ma'avin sounds like thick. So we'll see what that might mean. There's a new Mishnah now. Those people who sell produce, clothing, other kinds of kelim, you're allowed to sell privately for the moed. So here it says he's selling food, but he's a regular store. The stores are not allowed to be open. The stores that are selling food or clothing, also you need it for the moed, and kalim, whatever else you need, some things, pots, pans, whatever you need for the moed. So it says you're allowed to sell it, but only b'tzina, for tzorach hamoed.
After chatzos or before chatzos?
We're talking chol hamoed. We're in chol
Oh, in
hamoed. There's no
chol.
difference. Chol hamoed.
We just said the fruit places are open.
Where did we say?
Yes. Chol
We spoke about it. We didn't have it openly. That was the question of the butcher. So here's the case. We could put in the butcher here also. So it says that they have to sell b'tzina. That's what it says here. We'll say that it can't be open regular business as usual.
the door half open or something.
So we'll see the Gemara. That's today's Gemara. So did they do it with the door half open? What did they
I
do?
think we learned that. Yeah.
Some of them do like less.
So that's
Some
not
also
clear
make
that-
less. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Some of them make less hours.
Less hours.
It's not what it says in the Mishnah, but it is the spirit of Chalamai.
Okay, so we'll see the Gemara and see what they do. So here it says that people that have stores, even the stores that are going to be used for tzorach hamoed, you want food, or you need clothing, or you need kalim for chol hamoed. So it says you're allowed to sell only b'tzina. The Mishnah continues. Similarly, these are also things for food. Sayadin is hunters, and they want to. Also, the question is if they're allowed to do their work. The shoshosh means that they ground. The Muslims say it means that they grind grain into finer grain. And grossos is that split peas. They take peas and also they grind it. So it says they will do their work. But people need these things. They need the animals or whatever, the birds that they're going to catch, and they need the chopped ground grain and ground peas. So it says that it's mutal tzorach hamoed but b'tzina. They were machmir on themselves. There was the old chumrah. So the Gemara doesn't know what those words mean. We can see right away what the words mean about they were machmir. We'll see what that means. But so far we have two mishnayos. They put it together. Really, it's a little confusing to put it together. There's two separate mishnayos. The first one is that you're allowed to cover the dried figs with kash. That Buddha says even allowed to make thick. What does that mean? So the Gemara talks. There's a machlokes what this means, and the machlokes is between Rabbi Abba and Abasi. Both of them are quoting Chizkiah Rabbi Yochanan, but each one is machlokes what Chizkiah Rabbi Yochanan said. One of the Psham the Mishnah. Mechapen means a klushe, and Ma'aven means a smuche. The word mechapen means that you're allowed to cover it with a thin covering and of kash, and Ma'aven means you're allowed to make a thick covering of kash. It means Tanakama said only thin layer, and Rabbi Yehuda said even a thick layer. And Ma'aben means also commentary. The other one says that Mechapen means that you're allowed to cover it, no matter how, even if you want thin layer or thick layer, that's okay to come to Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda said Ma'aben also commentary that you're allowed to pile up the actual pile of figs in order to make it a thick pile. That way, the outer ones are going to protect the inner ones. The fact that there's a thick pile, if it's a thin layer of the pile, so then everything is open to the water. But if you make a tall, thick pile, so then only the outer layer is going to get wet and the inner layer will naturally be protected. It sounds like the Mishnah says af ma'aven. I'm not sure if that gears, we have to check the gears over there. If it says af ma'aven, if it's af ma'aven, it means that it's a leniency. And according to this strat, Rashi says that after they make a thin a pile, they also cover it up. But there's another Rashi Ksaviyad, it says that it means that you don't cover it. You just make it naturally. It means like a chumrah that it seems to say that you're only allowed to make a thick, high pile and not cover it. So that might be telling the gears or not. But anyway, machlok is how much you're allowed to do in order to protect it. Again, it seems like a davar aved. And it's interesting that before we had a Mishnah about Rabbi Yehuda, you'll see that Rabbi Yehuda was the one who was machmir, only do the minimum in order to save it by the wine and the beer and the oil. But here it seems, according to what we're learning here, that Rabbi Yehuda is the one who is more lenient, that he's allowed to do more to save. The Tanakhama says just do a thin layer. Rabbi Yehuda says even a thick layer. Okay, then maybe that's going to be necessary. These are figs, and you're making a pile. Yeah, but they should have put more. These are too few. Okay, I would have put more. Okay, thin and thick. Okay, Yashikar, thank you. Okay, good.
From the rain is a thing.
Yeah, they want that they should get protected from the rain. Yes, they should have put more. Even in that cliche, they should have put more on that. But thank you.
Cliche is on straw.
You're putting straw on top of the figs.
Oh, straw on top of the figs.
That's the protection. The straw is the protection.
If it's a lot.
If it's a lot. Okay, so it says a cliche probably is more than they showed you. They just wanted to show you very cliche, very thin. But it means a thin layer. And the other one says you even want to put a thick layer.
The
Pshat says
opinion is a thin layer, right?
There were 3 pictures. There was also a picture of a thick layer. You didn't see that, or that's what it is?
Yes. Well, we were thinking that even the thin layer should be a bit thicker than they made it.
Oh, the thin layer.
Should have been a bit thicker.
This should be thicker
This is
and
thin.
this should be thicker. Okay, this
Yeah,
one just.
This
yeah,
one should
okay.
be, this is nothing. This one is like something already. This is the thin
Yeah.
layer. And then thick layer is much more.
I see. Okay.
That's what
okay.
I would think. What's that all about? Okay, fine.
I don't know what that's about.
Okay, so now, and the other mandama says that according to Tanakam, you're allowed to do thin and thick, and according to Abyuda, you're allowed to make a high pile. That you pile up the figs into a high pile in a way that they'll protect each other. And then Machlokas Rishonim, if that means and also you cover it or not. Okay, that was a double of it, then how much you're allowed to protect it. The next case is about where this is practical already, about the stores being closed. You have food stores, clothing stores, catering stores. So it says they're allowed to sell, but sinner will sell chamoy. And the Bereshit says they will machmir on themselves. So two ways to understand that. It says that they do a betzina, the Bereshit says they will machmir. So the two ways to understand that. Maybe that means that the fact that they're doing a betzina, the first track, that they have to do it betzina, and they will machmir not even to do it betzina. They will machmir more than the halacha. The halacha says you must do it quietly, and they will machmir not to do it at all. That's when Adin will tell the store owners you're allowed to open up quietly, and you're allowed to go hunting quietly, you're allowed to grind the grains quietly, but they will machmir more, and they said we're not going to do it at all. That's one way to learn. The other way to learn is that the chumrah was to do it quietly. The Mishnah says you have to do it quietly, but the Mishnah says that's only a chumrah. They decided on their own, but then you're allowed to do it publicly. But they made a chumrah to do it even quietly, but not that there's a chumrah not to do it at all. Those two ways to learn the Mishnah. Tashma, so have a Bryce that says perish one way. Same as our Mishnah, that the stores are allowed to be open quietly, B'tzina, for the moed. So far it's the same. So it says perish, that the Bereshit says that the merchants of Tver, they will mark on themselves not to sell at all. Not even, so we say that the first shot is the truth. The level of the cloud, that the chumrah was not to do it at all. That's the true shot. The Brisa says so. It doesn't mean that the chumrah was to do it b'tzina. The chumrah was not to do it at all. The din is you must to do it b'tzina. That's the din. And the chumrah was not to do it at all. And it brings other cases also, not only the mochrim, also the rest of the Mishnah, Sadi Chayis Vofas V'Dagim, Sadi B'tzina, Tzar Hamoed, the Rosh Yom, Sadi Akva Henach Miyal Natzman, Shlei Sadi Kalikir, the same thing by the hunters, that the hunters of animals and birds and fish, the halach is that they're allowed to do it b'tzina for the moed. The Rosh says that they were machmir and akol, they were machmir not to hunt at all. And the second thing by the Shushay, it's the same as our Mishnah, and it says each one at a time. First it talks about Moche Perish Chis V'Kelim, then it talks about grind. They grind grain.
Grind grain. They're making flour.
They're making cereal. Finer grain.
Semolina.
Right, semolina, good. The shushay chilka tagas v'tisni doshim v'sinol zachamoy. The shushay tzipori and the last one. So it brought the Bryce that it says in all three cases, it says both by the Moche Pesus V'Kelim, both by the hunters, both by the Deshoshi, the people that are the grinders. So all of them, they have to do it b'tzina, and they will machmir themselves not to do it at all.
But that's not muchrim. In other words, you don't have to follow the chumrah.
The chumrah
of those towns like Arko and Tiberias.
That they don't do it at all.
They don't
but
at
when
all.
I did, you have to do it b'tzina. Rabbi, and then how the rest of the Gemara now.
The question was why are they mentioning the machmir?
They're saying that there's a chumrah not to do it. It could be that's a good thing. It could be that's a good chumrah. You see, it's a good chumrah maybe. But then it says that if it's only a chumrah, then they don't have to do it maybe. The next Gemara is going to be a side point. Just make some. 1 second. Till here is going to be a side point. Okay. So once we mentioned about chilka tagas v'tisni, that's some kind of that you're semolina, that you take grain and you chop it up to those finer pieces. So the Gemara has about 10 lines here to talk about what that means. But we finished our sugya so far, and it says that these storekeepers and hunters and grinders, they're allowed to do it l'sarach hamoed b'tzina, and some places they will machmir not to do it at all. But as a side point, the Gemara brings in what does chilka tagas v'tisni mean? Amar Abaye, Chilka means Chadal Latati. Targis means Chadal Latlas. This name means Chadal Arba. It means how finely ground is it. You have the grain. Chilka means that you grind it up. What do we have here? We have Chilka, and we have Targis, and we have Tisni. That Chilka means things that are grain that's split in half. Targis means you split it into three. Rashi means
Tarti is 2, right?
Tarti is 2, plus is 3, the Arba is 4. And Tisni means Chodol Arba. You ground it up finely into each grain is cut up into 4 pieces. Kiasa Rav Dimi, Omar. When Rav Dimi came, he said something else. That Chilka is arguing what Chilka means. And he says Chilka means Kunsa. Chilka does not mean split in half. Kunsa means spelt. Meisvei. The most Nasakasha, the one who says that I mean spelt. Meisvei. Chilka targets for Tisni, Tmein B'chol Mokum. It's a Brisa that says, a Mishnah that says that these things are Tameh in all places. Tameh means that it's Mekabel Tumah. It's susceptible to Tumah because it became wet. That means that Rashi brings down that usually only the places, the big cities, they will not be to have cleaner flour, and therefore they used to soak their grain, and then when they would grind it, it would become a finer, cleaner grain. It got off the shaft, the bran. But in other places, they were not so makbid. Farm were not makbid, and it would be maybe not wet. They never soaked it. But it says chilka targis for Tisni is tamei b'chol mokum. Even in the places that are farm, small villages, also chilka targis for Tisni is surely became wet. And that's from the Mishnah. Now the Gemara wants to know, why is it surely wet? If you say that chilka targis for Tisni means it was all ground, either half, thirds, or quarters, then it makes sense why it surely is tamei, because it surely was made wet. In order to grind it up, they first would soak it. If it means spelt, so why is spelt always going to be tamei? Who says that it was made wet? There's no reason to think that at any time spelt was made wet. The Gemara answers when it's talking about that it was peeled, it was shelled. So therefore, they used to soak it in order to get the shell off. You load the shell, it wouldn't have become peeled if they wouldn't have soaked it. So there's still a possibility that the word chilka doesn't mean divided in half. Maybe it means spelled. According to this pshat, that chilka means spelled and it doesn't mean cut open. So why is it called chilka? The word chilka means like chilka, like lechalek, to divide. If it means that it's divided in half, it makes sense the word chilka. But why should this spelt be called chilka? The shakal chilkayu. Rashi says that it means that they made it smooth. The word chalak means smooth. The fact that they took away the covering, the bran, in a way that it should be smooth, that's the reason why it's called chalak. Chilka, lashon chalak. So we still have machlokes if the word chilka, what the word chilka means. Meisvei, kasha from the Brisa says Mishnah maybe, Tosefta. It says, I know them in a dagan. If someone made an neder, I'm not going to benefit from grain. What does grain include? The word grain, dagan, grain. What does it include? So it says that pula mitzri is also not only the 5 grains, but even pula mitzri, which means string beans. I've also yavesh. If it's yavesh, dried string beans are also considered grain. And this, as far as this goes, things that you pile up in a pile, or mutter balach. But if it's moist, so then that's not called dagan. Mutter ba'ores, also it's mutter and rice. Rice is not considered dagan, and also bechilka targis v'tisni. It says that the word dagan does not include chilka targis and tisni. So what does that mean? What does chilka targis and tisni mean? If you say that chilka targis tisni means that it's ground up half, thirds, quarter, then it's good. Why it's not called a grain? It's not called grain anymore. Once it's ground up, it's not called grain. But if it means spelled, so it's regular grain. So why should it not be called grain? Kasha. So the Gemara is kasha on the one that says that Anavdimi, that says that chilka means kunsa. This thing the Gemara said in the beginning, the Gemara seems to have a kasha on it, and the simple pshat would remain like Abaya said that chilka targis for this means how finely ground it is. All that came in Agam.
Kunsa is spelled, and all these other words are different types of grinding.
No, the question was, what does chilka mean? The Gemara thought, does chilka mean grinding or does it mean spelled? And the Gemara at the end comes out, the kasha on the one that says that it means spelled, and we'll leave it at chilka targis with this means the way we said, divide, cut up to halves, thirds, or quarters. And it doesn't mean spelled.
It still remains spelled? What's kunsa?
We know kunsa is spelled, but the question, it doesn't say kunsa any place. It says chilka targis with this.
Oh, it doesn't need
kunsa was the pshat in chilka.
I don't know why
I'm saying it's the wrong
kunsa.
They're coming to explain. There's a better gear set that after here, right here, if you see right here, between the word of Dimi Omar and the kunsa, right there, sticking the word chilka. That he says chilka means kunsa. That's a much better gear set. You see it over here? Right here. Rav Dimi Amar, Kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar, right after the word Amar. So you put in the word Chilka.
Not kunsa.
No. Chilka means kunsa. Stick in the word, insert, don't erase. Don't take out the word kunsa. Say, put in the word Chilka with an arrow. Chilka means kunsa. So it's machloket for kunsa. What Chilka means, either means you divide it in half or it means spelled. And the Gemara's kasha, after the whole thing, there was a kasha, the one said that it says that it means spelled, and believe it the pashtus that it means cut up in half. The Gemara continues, we still don't know how to butcher stores open yet. The Chor is supposed to be open with sinner. The Gemara continues, Ravuna permitted kufiyasa. What does kufiyasa mean? Not clear yet. But he permitted them to sell regularly in the shuk. Beisvei of Kana Sakasha, it says that it has to be B'tzina. Now, really, the Mishnah says it has to be B'tzina, but the Gemara is a brisa that maybe, I'm not sure what the Gemara sees in the brisa more, maybe not only Peros, Ksus for Kalim, but Chanutz, Pesuchel, Star, Pasech, and Okedarko. If it's a store that's open up to a side street, so anyway, it's not considered Farhesia, so you could open up regular because it's not open to the street. But Pesuchel is just a rabbi. If you have a store open up to the main street, he has to open one door, close another door. He has two doors. He has to close up somewhat in order that it should be B'tzina. That on Shana Rabbah, the day before Shmini Atzeres, then you do it because you take out all the fruit out to be beautiful, that the streets should be adorned with fruit. Anyway, what does it say? That otherwise you're not allowed to do it in the shuk regular. If they quote down to Achron inch, it's only had that for the coverage Shmini Atzeres. Otherwise you're not allowed to. The Kitzur, it says that you have to do it b'tzina. How did he allow them to do it b'fasya? The Gemara says, "Lo gasha b'peri b'tavlen." It depends if it's fruit or if it's spices. So Rashi learns, unfortunately, we learn that spices are things that they're not going to last. You need it fresh. So there's no chash they're going to do it for after the moed. When they're buying it on chol moed, are they buying it for now or are they buying it for later use? So the reason why we wanted to do b'tzina is that it shouldn't look like people are buying it for later use. Only if it looks like they're buying it for chol moed. So that comes a heter over here that even though we say that the stores have to be half closed, that's only if it's a kind of store that also sells things that could be used after the moed. But if it's things that get spoiled, then it's muchat and it's for chol moed, then you're allowed to open it up regularly.
These things, spices are going to go bad. We're
Right.
talking about petrozelia.
Right. So in our days,
Okay.
So in our days,
green and they dry up.
right. Okay. So that's good. The things that don't stay, the things that stay, our spice, many of our spices stay a long time. So then you wouldn't be allowed to sell it fast. But things that meat, it was they used to buy fresh meat. And everybody used it for sure. They're using it. It could be that smart to do it b'fasya. The regular stores, I don't know. The grocery store, these things should have to be semi-closed, like it says here. I don't know what the custom is.
I don't know, just the shuk, the machnigun is pretty much.
I think it's open on every yontif.
I know.
But not all.
I know everybody.
Not everybody.
There's a Sephardi guy that has the store that sells all the plates. I'm very proud of him. I tell him always when he comes back, I say, you did good, because he loses a lot of business.
So that the halacha seems to say that the stores are allowed to be open b'tzina. Only the ones that are selling things that cannot be used after the moed is muchach for the moed. So then you'll have to be open regular, and then it can be open regularly. We'll be back in 2 minutes to do Pirkei Avos.
Our problem is.
Shaul, are you available? Are you that you online? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I wanted to ask, did it cut out a few times during the shiur?
One more time. Did it cut out a few times?
Yeah.
It was very good today. Maybe if it happened today, it was maybe just once. But today was very, very good. Today was very, very good.
Right. Okay, very good. I just want to get that feedback. Thanks very much. Shkoyach. Thank you.
Thank you for checking.